Have you ever really stopped to think about all the time that just disappears in between things? You know, the shuffle between activities? Well, we're about to dive into a really powerful teaching technique that finds some incredible potential in those small, often overlooked moments. It's a system called Brighten Lines.
So, let's kick things off with a number. 10 minutes. That's it. And according to the research, that's the absolute minimum amount of time lost every single day in classrooms to slow, kind of sloppy transitions between lessons. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. 10 minutes? So what? But here's the thing. When you actually start to do the math, the real cost of that lost time becomes, well, pretty shocking.
That 10 minutes a day, over a school year, it just balloons into 30 hours of lost instruction. 30 hours! And that's for every single student. Just let that sink in for a second. That is literally an entire week of potential learning that has just vanished into thin air. But the good news? There's a technique designed specifically to get that time back, and believe me, it can transform the whole vibe of a classroom. So, how do we actually do this? It all comes down to what the source material calls the mechanics of precision. The technique itself, Brighten Lines, is all about mastering these little in-between moments with absolute clarity. The core idea here is actually super simple, but it is incredibly powerful. You make the start and the end of every single task sharp, visible, and totally clear to everyone. This gets rid of that fuzzy downtime where kids lose focus and, things start to go off the rails.
And this isn't just one simple trick, It's a whole system with 3 key parts. You've got a clean finish, which uses a clear signal to end one thing. Interactive lines, which are practice routines for moving stuff around. And then a clean start to kick off the next task with instant focus.
Now that clean start is a really big deal. It's like its own little mini script. The teacher makes sure everyone's ready, gives a super brief instruction, delivers a sharp go signal, and then, this is key, immediately scans the room, praising the kids who jump right in. It just creates this powerful culture of getting started right away.
A simple, scripted phrase like pens in hand, go, seems so minor, right? But it's way more powerful than it looks. It's not just an order, it's a signal that builds anticipation. It creates this shared, collective moment where everyone gets on the exact same page instantly.
Okay, so we've got the mechanics down, but what actually happens when you put this into practice? The source calls this the astonishing time heist, and for good reason. The return on your investment of time and effort is just massive.
And when you look at the data, the picture is pretty wild. We already know that daily drag costs us 30 hours a year, but other research shows similar waste. Like, just handing out materials can chew up 3 minutes per task. And get this, a study from way back in 1985 found that saving just 1 minute per hour gets you 20 hours back a year. This isn't just about being neat, it's a huge strategic win.
But believe it or not, the impact here goes way beyond just saving time. To really get why this works so well, we have to look at how it essentially hacks the student's brain. Okay, so think of your working memory like a little whiteboard inside your head. It's not very big. And cognitive load theory tells us that if that whiteboard is all cluttered up with logistical questions like, wait, what are we supposed to be doing now? Or where does this paper go? There's literally no space left for the new stuff you're supposed to be learning. All that useless mental clutter, that's called extraneous load. This slide right here, this is the whole game. On the left, you see a brain totally bogged down by all those little logistical questions during a messy transition. But on the right, in a classroom that uses Brighten Lines, all those questions are already answered. The routines are automatic, which frees up all that precious brain power for what actually matters, learning.
So, what's the end game here? It's one word, automaticity. When all these little logistical steps become a drilled, shared habit, the mental work shifts away from that limited working memory and gets stored in long-term memory. It just becomes second nature, like tying your shoes.
And when these routines become automatic for everybody in the room, the effect goes way beyond just helping one kid's brain. It actually starts to build a culture of focus, and it can fundamentally change the entire classroom environment. Now, it's fair to ask, is this all just a little authoritarian? Does a system like this end up stifling creativity? But the argument from the source is a firm no. The point isn't control just for the sake of it. It's about creating a predictable, safe, and fair environment. The idea is that by automating the boring stuff, you actually free up mental energy for real creativity and complex problem solving. So,
We've looked at the mechanics, the insane time savings, and the cognitive science. It really all boils down to this one simple idea. A small change can have a massive impact. So what's the big takeaway here?
The impact really hits on 3 different levels at once. You get a quantitative win by reclaiming dozens of hours of learning time. You get a cognitive advantage by freeing up that crucial working memory. And by doing those 2 things, you build a much stronger, more positive classroom culture built on focus and predictability. It's a win-win-win.
I mean, this quote from the research just nails it. This isn't just some clever classroom management trick. It is a genuine strategy that transforms all that wasted administrative energy into a powerful engine that actually accelerates learning.
And that leaves us with one last question to think about. If mastering a simple little transition can have this much impact, what other small, overlooked routines in your work, or even in your life, might be holding a similar key to unlocking some huge untapped potential?